YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and I've got another epic 1v1 match. People have really been sending in a lot of these, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm actually going to be streaming tonight at 8 p.m. US Central on October 8th. We're going to play some 1v1 matches, so if you want to play me, come join in. This is going to be a great one between Rubber Duck of War and Consul of Rome, and Consul of Rome is going full YOLO Vanguard Wood Elves, and he has brought Mel Gibson and his Branch Wraith. And there's a whole bunch of Dryads backed up by the Wardens of Cithral, which, remember, is a nice armor-piercing anti-large spear unit. And then we've got the Hawkeyes of Drakira, which is a special Waywatcher. Has some special abilities, like Hawkeye, I believe, is one of them. And then they also have a Smoke Bomb, or they all have Hawkeye, so my bad. Anyway, just a great unit overall. They do have a couple other specialties, but I don't want to focus too much on that because the fight with the Empire is starting. And the Empire's got a Volkmar build. And they've got two Empire Knights, quite a few Spearmen. They're mixed in with Sigmar's Sons, which I think is a great choice versus the Wood Elves. And then Volkmar here as well, who also not a bad choice. He's fairly missile resistant. He's supported by the Silver Bullets, which is a magic damage handgunner. It could be very good against units with physical resist like the Wood Elves bring. And then there's some Huntsman support, which again, I like this pick. Decent range, anti-large. And then you've got some artillery. Great cannons, mortars, so these will be firing away, and there's even a Hellblaster volley gun. And look at this. Orion comes up into the fight early on, gets netted by the Light Wizard, and just gets absolutely slaughtered. And it's looking really bad right away for the Wood Elves in that sense. However, the Waywatchers did tremendous damage to one of the Empire Knights, and now they're also getting some shots off at the Wizard. And you can see there is another Knight unit out here trying to cut through some Dryads and potentially get out here. A nice banishment pops up. That was used by Volkmar, so good play by Rubber Duck of War. And he is fighting, despite having been probably a bit surprised by this deployment. Or maybe he wasn't surprised. Look at this. Within an inch of his life, Orion's running away from the Huntsman, whose anti-large damage is really hurting him right now. And you can see the cannons are firing at him. If Orion goes down right now, the Wood Elves are in some real serious trouble because there's not a lot that's going to take down Volkmar. The Waywatchers can do it, but Volkmar has some resistance to their missiles. Look at this, another banishment here, so going after the archers pretty hard. Look at this bombardment too. When you get into a blob fight with Volkmar, which is about all you can do, then he bombards you and just makes the situation worse. These two players are going at it fast and furious. This battle is awesome. And Orion is just, like I said, right on the verge of death. Now remember, he has a special ability that heals him whenever he's very low on hit points. It's this Cloak of Isha here. It restores 8 hit points per second and gives him damage resistance. That is the only thing keeping him alive. And look at this. Consul of Rome is having to micro him around, dodging shots while trying to maintain his presence elsewhere on the battlefield. It is an incredible feat going on right now, and it's pretty impressive, to say the least. There were some Wild Hunters of Kurnos, and they came in trying to stop the Huntsman. They were shut down by the Silver Bullets, but then an impressive Penumbral Pendulum coming in from the Branch Wraith, putting a beat down on the Silver Bullets and doing a little bit of ancillary damage to the Great Cannons, but not a lot. The Waywatchers are still alive, though, and the Empire has lost most of their cavalry capabilities. Some have come back from routing on the far outskirts here, and so you're going to have to see the Empire start to pressure the Waywatchers any way they can. Look at them massacre this Light Wizard here, who played such an important role early on in shutting down Orion, and boy, did he shut down Orion with the help of those Huntsmen. It was quite the assassination attempt, and quite honestly, just crazy that it didn't succeed because it was really good. Volkmar is healing as he goes along too, and he just thrives in an anti-infantry environment, and that's exactly where he's at right now, right at home. And so despite the fact that the Empire has taken a ton of damage, Volkmar is still in a pretty powerful position. Orion is too weak to challenge him, and he can go around and have a huge impact on the fights. And basically the Empire is going to struggle to keep their missile units alive. But, I mean, I have to give them credit for being Vanguard deployed on, and for them being so many Waywatchers on the other side. They actually did a pretty darn good job with the missiles early on, getting a tremendous amount of damage done on Orion, who is a very tough customer, and otherwise could have posed a much bigger threat in this battle. But instead, the Empire stays in the fight. In fact, they're winning the fight, according to the power bar. Sigmar's Sons, despite having been savaged, are still alive. And you can see the Branch Wraith got routed. Look at this, the Waywatchers fighting to keep the missile units out of the battle. They're able to reroute the Silver Bullets in a very nice shot there. And they do occasionally fire at Volkmar, but let's take a look at Volkmar and remember that he has pretty significant missile resistance, 15%. He also resists magic. I'm trying to remember whether... No, these are not magic attacks. Okay, I was thinking of a different unit that has the magic. So just things to remember when you're going to shoot Volkmar. He does have some resistance, he does have healing, and he does have some damage resistance abilities as well. But I believe that what the Wood Elves were attempting to accomplish here was to get their archers free and just take out any units that could challenge them. They certainly can do big damage to Volkmar, but if they focus on him and don't get rid of the cavalry, or don't get rid of some of the other threats, then they just end up dying and won't be able to kill Volkmar anyway. But like I said, Volkmar's health here is really not a big question. If he ends up in a fight with Orion, in Orion's diminished state, he can only heal up to about 1,100 something hit points, I think, and then he hits a cap. Yeah, right there it is, in fact. So 1118 is going to be his cap. Oof. Even with that resistance, though, the Way Watchers hurt, and they hurt bad. Look at that, the Light Wizard came in and got off one last net to hold Orion. Orion's going to use his bombardment ability, but it's just going to miss Volkmar. And again, Volkmar does have pretty stiff magic resistance. You're going to see here a charge come in, and it actually hurts Orion pretty good. Volkmar gets in here and does start doing some damage. Now, of course, Orion will do some damage, but at this point, Consul of Rome, I think, is scared to leave Orion in that melee, especially when Orion has so much ammunition left, and he's trying to use the rest of the ammunition on his archers, and I think this is a good call, especially to be safe. The support for the Wood Elves was a little bit far away, and if you had gotten in there and lost Orion, Volkmar very well could tank his way through the rest of this fight. He is just that strong. Instead, Orion's going to get back here and hurl some spears in, and boy, that was a shot right there. You got to feel that one. It's actually just underneath his arm and sticking into the shin bone of the griffin back there. So talk about a near miss. You all should caption what Volkmar is thinking whenever that spear went right underneath his arm. I'm sure it actually counted as damage on the unit model, though. You can see here Orion, again, trying to avoid that fight. This is, again, where Volkmar gets dangerous. Look at this. Blob up on him to kill him, and bam! Grand Soulfire raining down all over you. And it is damaging. The Wood Elves took a beating from that. And you can see this, Volkmar, 170 kills. Again, this guy is not to be trifled with in blob fights between his banishment, his healing, and his Soulfire. It is pretty good. I see some, well, nice spear chuck there, Mr. King of the Woods. Can we get a Wood Elf DLC yet? CA, please. Wood Elf DLC now. So we're going to see Orion just go ahead and take the fight here with Volkmar, and he does get some bruising hits in. He's got really solid anti-large overall damage and armor-piercing damage. He's pretty good in a melee. It's just that he was so damaged, he was waiting for this opportunity. Here he's going to get another charge and come in and try and put a hit on Volkmar. It didn't quite connect, though, and Volkmar at this point is taking a lot of damage, just kind of stuck in melee. He got smoke-bombed, I believe, a moment ago by the Hawkeyes and Drakira, so he really couldn't flee and got stuck in that fight. And this was a fast fight, but this was a great fight, and it illustrates some strengths, I think, of both factions, and I thought illustrated some really solid gameplay from both players, too, which I think is a couple lessons to be learned here. Number one, Rubber Duck of War reacted pretty fast, and he got some serious hurt on Orion with those missile units. When you bring missile units like this and you have the support for them, they've got to do the damage on the key targets. And although Orion didn't die here, which was very unfortunate for Rubber Duck of War, he got the damage done. This guy did some serious damage there real quick with these units. Now, ultimately, he ended up losing because he wasn't able to get the Way Watchers. But again, when you bring these things, you got to output the damage, and he did start to output that damage. And honestly, it is just shocking that Orion didn't die there. It was a combination of some real skill play by Consul of Rome and just some bad luck for Rubber Duck of War that Orion didn't die there. And so, really cool army to go against the Wood Elves. I like the Huntsmen. This is an interesting pick. You can't see them from long range because they have the stalk capability. They're good at cutting down wild riders, tree men, other stuff like that. Same thing with the Silver Bullets. Anything with physical resistance, they'll cut right through it. Empire Knights are a good armor cavalry that is going to counter wild riders pretty good if they get into a melee with them. And of course, they are pretty good at charging into archers and other stuff, so I think a solid pick. The Hellblaster volley gun is an interesting one to me, but I guess it does have decent range, and if used against archer lines, can be pretty decent, or a lot of targets for that matter. A single entity target wouldn't be bad for the Hellblaster volley gun if it was big enough to hit consistently, and then the cannon just gives you overwhelming range. Can do really good damage to Wild Riders if it gets a shot. Can do good damage to Treemen, Durthu, all that kind of stuff. So not a bad pick. And then Mortars, of course, are a good call against anything that's on foot. Archers, Dryads, probably better against Eternal Guard than it would be Dryads, just because Dryads have a little bit of physical resist and they're spread out a little more in their formation. The Mortar is going to do best against a tightly packed formation, but still effective nonetheless. And then from the Wood Elf side, the Dryads are an obvious pick for a Vanguard army, and so are the Wardens of Cithrall. Number one, because they all have the Vanguard trait. But number two, Dryads are a good pick against the Empire for the most part against their infantry, because they do really good damage against low armor, and their physical resist helps them hang in a fight a little longer. The Wardens of Cithrall are also a great pick. They can help counter large, and they do armor-piercing damage, pretty good in melee. They're the only kind of sturdy melee unit that can Vanguard with the Wood Elves, and so again, that makes them a somewhat obvious pick, I think, in here. Three-Way Watchers is a big spend, and they're only really guarded by the Wild Hunters of Kurnos, and so a gutsy play here, but it did pay off. And Orion, again, also a Vanguard one, so it makes sense that he comes with this army. Orion does excel against large if he can get into the right situation, but you saw there, I mean, he got jacked up by the Huntsman and the combination of fire there from Rubber Duck of War. So really impressive battle all around, and this has me excited. I can't wait to play battles with you all tonight. Hey, couple things. If you want to play battles with me tonight, I've scheduled it on my YouTube. Go in there, click set the reminder button so you can join us, and then go over to my Discord. I'm going to try and link to some tournament rules that we'll use tonight. The link that I clicked was broken, so I have some people trying to refresh it for me. We're going to play some tournament rules, 1v1 battles. You all can just come join. I can't wait to play against you. Again, these battles have me fired up. It should be a lot of fun. Appreciate Console of Rome sending this, and all those who have been sending replays recently when I haven't had a lot of time to be playing multiplayer. I'm excited to get back into it tonight, but my time has been limited, so I really appreciate them sending us just some excellent battles in the last few. I feel like we've been able to learn some good lessons from it. Anyway, HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll see you all again soon with some more Total War Warhammer 2 action.